America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not,
the show where we believe it.
Or did I?
Or
Do
don't
we? Once in a while? No.
It's a real will she, won't she kind of thing.
Exactly.
You know,
like
or they, or them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good point. Do you know Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head?
Yeah, I've been hearing about this. This is a recent controversy. There's another one it's tangentially related. It was about some old Dr. Seuss books being pulled as well.
Yeah.
Not quite the same, but you know.
But similar. I think the conservatives and evangelicals are freaking out pretty much the same on both issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think the controversy is Mrs. Potato Head has a vagina.
Oh, is that what it's about?
It's genitals related, I think.
Well, they both have that back hatch that you can put pieces inside.
It's true.
Right?
It's
so
one of
is that a potato vagina? Is that what that is? My understanding, kind of what I've heard, is it's less that they're not calling them Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. It's that the toy like branding is just Potato Head, and then there's still Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head. I don't know if that's the case.
Was the plan. That was the plan,
Oh.
and now it's like they've reversed it because so many people freaked out. So now it's just going to be Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head still.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Yeah.
Who are these people who are so concerned about this stuff?
People who love being outraged. Another thing recently too is the Equality Act. Have you been paying much attention to? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that psycho.
I try not to. Most of what I've heard is she just seems like a real winner. I've heard a lot of the stuff about her bringing guns into the Senate and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I think that the guns. Yeah, she was part guns. The gun one is really Lauren Boebert or whatever. They're the two really conservative, like QAnon. I almost said Tea Party, but is that a thing anymore? The QAnon people and the crazies and her concern is that there's only two genders. She says, according to the Bible, there's only two genders. And it's like, well, you can Google that. You can figure out if that's true or not. But no, you just be angry.
What does the Bible say about does it say anything about gender?
Oh, yeah, it says a lot about gender. It's like,
it
freaks out about gender. It's like a pretty sexist book.
Well, yeah. I figured.
And that's what we're here to talk about today. The Bible, or the church and gender, I guess, or Christianity and gender. Because people are freaking out about it. And genders has been one of those things that the church has held some strong opinions on.
Right. Well, I mean, if it has to do with anyone's sexuality, orientation, or what people are doing in the privacy of their own homes, the church has got to be so far up your ass.
Yeah.
They want to be right there with you.
Oh, yeah. The church has had some pretty strong, defined roles for men and women, which vary over time, which change, and which morph. There's some, pretty sexist stuff in church history and church in general. So there's different categories, I guess, within the church of what people believe and how they interpret gender roles from the Bible and how it's supposed to be played out today. One article I was reading had like a list. I think it was a Christian article, but it had a list of like the different opinions that Christians have. One of them is the Traditionalists, and this is basically men are, above women. They're the leaders of the church. They're the leaders of the household. They're the leaders in society. So, like, even with them, Marjorie Taylor Greene wouldn't be allowed to be any sort of leader because she's a woman. So,
see, this is always my problem with things like tradition or old fashioned, the kind of things that are looked at in like the good old days kind of things, where it's like these are just kind of fancy buzzwords for like regressive and archaic and outdated, but they try and put that like spin. I'm like, oh no, we're following the beliefs that we grew up on. Like there's a reason we don't have those beliefs anymore, or we shouldn't have those beliefs anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's this thing too, like the next they talk about complementarianism, complementarians, which is supposed to be like, it sounds progressive. Like, oh, the sexes complement each other, but it's still gender roles. It's still like, you know, there's different degrees in it. Like there's some where it's like men have authority over all women, and then somewhere it's like, no, they just have authority over their wife. It's like, well, they're still both shitty.
No, they don't have authority over anything.
Yeah, exactly. Just people, and there's other people. Egalitarians is okay. I guess
they love eagles, and
they love
only
eagles.
Have sex with eagles.
Oh, and that's where you're just men and women in marriage are just supposed to submit to each other. So it's like the more equality thing,
a little more, but
it's still
falling into that gender binary or whatever.
Not that there's wrong with any, like, if you want to be a sub, that's fine. Submission is fine.
Sure. I think there's a difference when it's something that that's a lifestyle choice that you make consciously versus one that is dictated by a 2,000-year-old fantasy novel.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of the things within Christianity and within different denominations, that these weird gender role lines, and then we'll get into a bit of the gender identity and things like that. So dress codes is a big thing with a lot of churches, and like what men and women are allowed to wear, which is funny.
I don't know if I've ever told this story. My grandmother used to work for it was like I think it was like Our Lady of Fatima, where they basically would just send out like flyers and like notes saying like, oh, our boiler broke down, please send the church money so we can fix our boiler. And they'd send out like little rosaries and like little bottles of holy water and shit like that.
Yeah.
And the guy was a crook. He died. I don't fucking care. Fuck that place.
Yeah.
They're just swindling people out of their money, like old people who can't afford to turn their heat on, but they're still sending money to these things.
Yeah.
But my grandmother didn't believe it. She just worked there because she wanted a job. But she had to wear a skirt every day she worked there. So what she would do, she just wore her jeans, and then she'd have to put the skirt on over top. So when she went to pick up her paycheck, that she just had a skirt in the back of the car, like constantly there for whenever she had to run in.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For this arbitrary reason.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing too, is pants is the biggest divide. So a lot of United Pentecostal churches have like a women can't wear pants rules, as well as a lot of fundamentalist Baptist churches have a lot of rules about what men and women can wear as far as pants go. And same with Anabaptist churches, so like Amish and Mennonite and things like that. Mennonites, a lot of them are more progressive in that way now.
And this is mostly so that the women don't give the men boners, right?
That's true. Yep.
And then the men wear pleated pants so you can't see the boners that they might get from the women.
It's the pleat in the pants. I'm going to return these to the pants store.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. And here's an excerpt from a sermon from a guy named Jack Hyles from 1973. So Jack Hyles, First Baptist Church in Hammond, at the time was the largest church in America in 1973, and it's still a mega church today. But this is a quote from him. "Some of you pants-wearing ladies, I hope God will get you so under conviction tonight that you'll hit the mourner's bench before you go home. Let me tell you something. You ladies who wear your breeches, don't you laugh at me while I'm preaching the Bible to you. The Bible says a woman should not wear that pertains to a man. In this heathen generation, you ladies who wear pants have fallen prey to the unisex philosophy. You are part of the unisex movement. I'm going to prove to you, you won't believe it because you just want to go ahead and be part of it. You don't want to be different. You're not willing to buck the trend."
Right.
He goes on to lament that you can't even buy skirts at the department store anymore. So is he skirt shopping a lot? Is that what's happening?
How insecure and afraid of sexuality do you have to be that something that is not even sexual makes you this irrationally angry, and like this is like the worst thing you can do is as a woman wearing pants?
Yeah. Pensacola Bible College and a lot of other Bible colleges have a rule that women can't wear pants on campus unless they're playing sports. That's one of the things. The United Pentecostal Church, women aren't allowed to wear pants or slacks because they immodestly reveal the feminine contours of the upper thigh and hip.
Like how sexually repressed are these people? Like, I mean, the answer is very. Like that's the whole point, right? Because they they want to push people into marriage and make them have lots of kids and procreate. And I mean, that's the whole thing. Like when you're not exploring your sexuality, of course, the first thing you want to do is get married.
Yep, it's true.
So you can explore that stuff.
Exactly. They're not allowed to wear makeup. No jewelry except for wedding rings and wristwatches. No low necklines. No sleeveless dresses or shirts. No very tight or very thin clothes. No dress hemlines at or above the knee. No sleeves under the or above the elbow. And you can't have uncut hair. Oh, yeah. What? I don't get that. You have to have long hair.
Okay.
Yeah. But you have to cut it? I don't know. But for men,
keep it trimmed or something?
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know.
Weird. But for men, there's like 2 rules. You can't have hair covering the tops of your ears. And your hair can't touch your collar. So you can't have long hair.
Right now with quarantine, I got both of those.
Yeah, my hair is insane. Yeah, I haven't had a haircut since August.
And they wonder why the youth are leaving the church, trying to make them dress like a bunch of frumps.
Yeah, it's true. When I was a teenager, camp had like these dress codes, like my summer camp, and it was all the rules were for women. And when I was a counselor, we finally added some stuff, but it wasn't like we took away stuff that women couldn't wear or the girls couldn't wear, but we just added a couple things to make it seem more fair. So like guys weren't allowed to wear muscle shirts or whatever. And it's like, well, no, just make it like,
yeah,
so that women just feel comfortable. Girls can feel comfortable. Yeah. So
like the whole thing is like, why, if you, I understand that you can have a dress code. That's sure. But just make it a general dress code. Just be like, make sure, shirts just need to have this or whatever. And it's this. Don't say like, girls can only have this. Girls can only have this. Girls can only have this because we don't want the boys getting boners. Girls can only have this.
And that's the whole thing. And like, even with the United Pentecostal, that's basically how they say it. It's like, no, because you have to dress modestly to protect the men, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, then stop. Then protect the man from what?
Yeah, exactly.
And why do we have to protect him?
Yeah.
What about her?
Exactly.
Protecting the woman.
Yeah, exactly.
It's victim blaming before there's even anything happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that goes back into a whole other argument that we don't need to get into.
I hate it. Yeah. And that's hats and head coverings is a weird gender specific thing. A lot of churches, especially in the past, but still there's still some churches today that women have to wear hats when they're in church. That's why you see the big church hats and stuff like that. That's why you see like Amish ladies and Mennonite ladies wearing those like head things, and why nuns wear the head coverings. And men aren't allowed to wear hats in church. Mm-hmm. So they have to, like when I was a kid, and even I think my home church even still has this rule, but like as soon as you go up in the church, if a usher sees you wear a hat, he'll like come right up to you and like take that hat off. But women are expected to in some churches.
And this comes right back to like what I was saying, traditions, old fashioned. It's somebody else's baggage. It means nothing to you. Why are we holding on to this bullshit? Like it's like, don't put your elbows on the table, or don't wear a hat there, don't wear a hat inside. Like, who is this for?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need this. It's not helping anyone. It's not progressing anything. We've come to a point where you can find anything on the internet.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
If you're getting that upset over someone wearing a hat inside, then you really need to check yourself at the door.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My other thing about that is that it comes back to that kind of almost public shaming, right? That self-enforced rule of law that the congregation is enforcing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, just let people worship and believe in the way that they want to. They're at the church. They're doing what they can. Leave them fucking alone. You don't know
exactly.
You don't know what's going on with these guys, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know, like, what kind of week they had, and
as soon as you start like pushing that kind of shit, like take your hat off, put your hat on. You need to wear a skirt. Like all that, is that bringing anyone in, or is that just pushing people out?
Exactly. Yeah, we talked about men and women role in the household. So the Bible's actually I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but sexist. So the Bible says in Ephesians, wives submit to your husband as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Growing up, we always had these like things at church and like different churches I'd go to and stuff where it was always this like diagram of an umbrella where it says like God on top, and then under that umbrella has another umbrella that says husband, and then under that it says wife and kids.
Why would you use an umbrella?
I don't know.
You don't need two umbrellas.
Yeah, exactly.
What a shitty way of looking at life.
Yeah, the quiverful movement, which we've talked about before, is big on the gender roles and like men being the head of the household, women being baby makers who do all the cooking and cleaning and all that stuff.
I mean, I guess it comes back to that whole idea of where you give somebody some sort of agency over another, you give them that authority, it becomes more attractive for them, right?
Yeah.
And then the people in those submissive roles are kind of pushed further and further into them, and they're kind of placed more into that compliance, right?
Yeah.
So that comes back to like what I was saying with that self-policing as well, right? As soon as you give someone authority over somebody else, or that option that they can kind of exert that, they're going to do that. So it's keeping people in line while letting them, like, giving them enough power that they can feel like they have some importance while still being completely irrelevant as far as life goes, and just end up being shitty people as a result of it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to read, there's this list I found. I won't read the whole thing because it's pretty long, but
read it all. We want to hear
it. It's from a website called GTY, or Grace to You. And so it's a weird Christian site. Looks like by a big preacher, and I'm not even going to tell you who it is because I don't know. But we'll put the reference on the website. So these are 7 priorities of a godly wife. First, wives are to love their husbands. So basically that's their priority 1. And then they have a whole list of Bible verses of why that's true. Second, wives are to love their children. Makes sense. I think that's just, evolution that makes us love our children, and it's a good thing to do that. I think husbands should love their children too, or fathers, regardless of whether you're married.
Not to cut in, but can you truly love someone if you're only doing it because you're told to love someone?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great question.
I never get that, where it's like, if you are being forced to love someone, or if you're loving someone under duress, or because of a fear of some sort of like retribution or eternal damnation, for example, is that truly love? Or is that some weird Stockholm kind of, you're conditioned and you're beaten down into this love, and you don't, if you were in a different situation or you were removed from it, you had the choice, you probably wouldn't make that choice.
Yeah. I was on the Friendly Atheist site today, and they, Hemimeta, and they had a video from a church that was like the creepiest thing ever. It was like a mother and her daughter and 2 puppets singing about why obedience is good. And they're just like staring at the camera and like spelling out obedience, and it just looked like the most Stepford Wives, like under oppression kind of video. Yeah,
it's so gross.
Yeah, it's so gross. Third, wives are to be sensible. This is the same quality that should characterize elders. All older men, and in fact all believers, common sense and good judgment should improve with age, but they should be evident in early adulthood. So that's dumb. Fourth, wives are to be pure. This refers primarily to moral purity, and especially in the context to sexual purity and marital faithfulness. Yeah, that's that whole, we want our wives to be virgins so that we know that our kids are ours, because that's important for...
Like, you want, you like, if your wiener goes into a vagina that had another wiener in it, it's like you're kissing that wiener.
It's true. Right? It's like you're banging wieners, and that's like
that's gross to these people. I guess
it is. Yeah, and a lot of them. That's why you're not allowed to kiss until you're married either. Really? A lot of, especially like independent fundamentalist Baptists and all these purity culture churches, you don't even kiss before you're married because you don't want to kiss somebody who's kissed somebody else.
And that comes back to like that whole thing about like loving someone and actually understanding these things, right? Like sexual compatibility and like all of this stuff is very important for like a properly functioning relationship.
Yeah.
But as soon as you like, no, you can't do that. You have to get married first. Like you have to, this is really putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, it's true.
Where rather than like, understanding who you are and who your partner is and how this kind of relationship works and what's healthy and what's functioning, it's lock it down and then try and make it work. And that is so wrong.
Which is why so many friends of mine who got married in Bible college at 20 or 22 are divorced now because they just got married because that was what you're supposed to do and they wanted to have sex and it was
thank fuck now that they can get divorced. I mean, that was always never an option for a lot of people.
It's true.
Too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it when it was probably marriage was a means of getting a dowry and land.
Yeah.
I mean, from that kind of perspective, you can kind of see like, well, yeah, you're trying to marry your kids off so you can get more property and food.
Yeah, it's true. To survive.
But like now, what are you doing?
Yeah. 5, women are to be workers at home. One of the hardest things for many contemporary wives.
Dig, chop, chop, dig.
What's that from?
It was The Simpsons where Homer was sitting in a hammock while Marge was chopping.
Right.
Oh, Lisa was chopping wood and Marge was digging a hole.
Right.
I don't remember why, but
that's great.
He was imagining it.
Oh, actually, this website is progressive. I shouldn't said anything because they said that if you're not married, you're allowed to have a job outside the house.
As a woman?
As a woman, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So, oh man. Oh, what was I doing criticizing this?
That's true.
Number 6, wives are to be kind. Sure.
What does that even mean?
Just like, or maybe just like marry somebody whose personality you enjoy and is complementary to yours if you want to get married at all. Like
how is any of this appealing to anybody?
Yeah.
Like, really, like, does anybody truly want such a one-dimensional, like, passive, submissive, like, milquetoast, bland individual in your life? Like,
yeah.
That you have to spend your life with this person, and they're just nothing based on this.
Just boring. Yeah.
Like, it's so unappealing.
Yeah. Number 7, seventh and finally, wives are to be subject to their own husbands. That same old bullshit. So this is this guy's seven things to being a good wife. Yeah, it's so fuck that guy.
Yeah, I agree.
Women in church leadership. A lot of churches do not allow women to be in church leadership. First Timothy 2 verse 11 and 12 says, "Women should learn in silence and in all humility. I do not allow them to teach or have authority over men. They must keep quiet." The Bible's sexist.
Right. Yeah.
In Catholicism especially, but in like a lot of churches, even just leadership names are gender specific, like father, like with priests.
Yeah.
Abbot, which means Abba, which means father. Pope.
Hey, Abbot.
Pope is Papa. So it's all like, just very gender specific. Men are leaders in in this tradition. Let's see, some churches, American Baptist churches allow women in leadership. Episcopal churches do. Evangelical Lutherans, that was the denomination I was a leader in. They allow women to be leaders. Mormons do not. The Missouri Synod of Lutherans do not. Presbyterians do in the States. Roman Catholics obviously do not, and I'll get more into that in a little bit. Unitarians, they're cool with it. United Church of Christ, obviously they're cool with it. And United Methodists are cool with it. Let's see here. As of 2012, only 11% of American congregations were led by women. And right now, or as of 2 years ago, I guess, only one of the 100 largest churches in America were led by a woman. So, pretty big divide. Even if you say, "Oh yeah, we allow it," there's still a huge divide there.
I mean, it's one of those things where I'm a little torn about it, where it's just like, yeah, you should have them be able to have these positions of authority in the church, but part of me is also just like, get out of it. Stay away.
Like why would you want to be in there? Yeah,
I don't care about equality in it because it's something that I don't think should exist.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like there's not enough baby murderers out there. You know, we need to have a better gender divide in baby.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's very true. The Catholic Church, there's been a huge fight for many, many years to try to ordain women, but
I know we might get someone saying like, well, that's what abortions are and you're for abortion.
That's true.
You know what? I take it back. There
in that way,
more baby murderers than...
Yeah. So I grew up in a church that had an ordained woman pastor as the associate pastor, so like the second in command kind of thing. I guess I grew up in a little more advanced culture, but my church came out of the holiness movement, and a lot of churches from the holiness movement were pretty quick to ordain women. So that was even like 100 years ago kind of thing where they were ordaining women. Yeah.
It's funny because it's like, it's easy to say like, how out of touch can you be with modern society to not see this? But again, we're in a very specific bubble, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you kind of like go outside of it, even more rural or small communities or even outside of North America, it's very easy to kind of still be in that older mentality, I guess you'd say.
Well, even like the church I worked at for a while when I ran the day camp, this one woman, she was like the main person who basically ran the whole church. Like she did all the day-to-day stuff, but she was only paid for 25 hours a week because they had a policy within that denomination, within that Baptist denomination, that women can't be full-time because that takes them away from the household and they need to be taking care of their kids and stuff.
What?
Even though she definitely worked more than 40 hours a week, and her kids were adults and out of the house, but they still applied that rule. So she was basically making less than a minimum
Holy
wage.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, fuck that rule.
Yeah.
Second of all, don't work. Stop
yeah,
working.
it's true. Yeah.
Like, why would you? I get that you want to be part of the community and this is something that's important to you, but after a certain point, you have to be like, I get it's important, but you also have to look like they're taking advantage of you for their own kind of belief thing. And they're not paying you for the time and work that you're putting into this thing that you supposedly care about. And all they're showing you is that they don't give a shit about you.
Yeah. And I think she had a master's and everything in theology and stuff like that. And she moved away. That was in Calgary. She moved away to Toronto and she's ordained now. And she's like, a little more freedom. I hope she changed the denominations, but it's still like, it's just a shitty. It's just one of those things where, I mean, I don't get why you'd want to stay in it, but maybe, I mean, you believe what you believe. And I guess if you're on the inside and you want to change stuff, then it makes sense. But I just wish people didn't believe in sexist bullshit. Yeah. Speaking of gender, let's talk about trans people and how the church views gender on a spectrum. Pretty much most churches do not believe it's a spectrum.
Yeah,
it's
I didn't think that they did.
Very binary. There was a move in the Catholic Church to be more inclusive, and that was shut down. In the New York Times, they talked about in 2019 where the Catholic Church officially said, like, no, there's no gender fluidity. There's two genders, male and female. He created them. This is a quote, toward a path of dialogue on the question of gender identity and education. Sex and gender can be seen as distinct concepts, but should not be considered independent of one another, and that the Church does not approve of gender identity or the ideology that follows from it. And basically they said that the idea of gender moving along a spectrum was nothing more than a confused concept of freedom in the realm of feelings and wants. So that's... Isn't
existence just a feeling of likes and wants?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that's how we survive as a species, is our likes and wants.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
That's how life works.
Yeah. Yep. There's even a lot of like people who aren't religious that like just internalize their transphobia, and they say things like, well, it's just science. Like if you just look at the science, there's just two genders. It's like, no, I mean, even the science doesn't say that. Yes, there's PPs and VAVAs, but
there's the thing about it, like biological sex and kind of whatever they're saying. It might be a little more clear cut than then or would that be sex? Is it
yeah, that's
the other thing, because there's a difference between sex and gender.
Yeah,
I'm not well versed in any of this, so again, I apologize if I'm making huge errors. I don't want to like offend anything, but I know there's a difference between those two and how those spectrums lie, but that's also where like the arguments come from. They're like, well, this is what it is, you either have a vagina or you have a penis.
Yeah, even if it was just feelings, like feelings are real things too. and you know, like you see videos of people freaking out that somebody's going poop in the wrong bathroom, and
like the majority of these people are just trying to live in a way that they feel comfortable and recognized and seen. It's just like they're not affecting you in any way. This doesn't affect your life in any way. Like, why is this so important to you? I don't.
Yeah, like if you look at like if a pastor assaults somebody or sexually abuses somebody, that's a bad apple, and that's like, you know,
it's not, Trev. They get a slap on the wrist and they get moved to a congregation next town over.
Yeah, it's true.
Continued cycle of this bad behavior that gets swept under the rug, but it doesn't matter because they're a person in authority within this religious organization. But if it's somebody who was born male and wants to identify as female, God forbid that they use the women's bathroom because they might try and rape your children, which has been completely disproven.
Exactly.
No evidence for. But a continued epidemic of child abuse in the clergy has been documented. But you know, we're just going to ignore that little detail. So let's forget about that. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I was attacked in a bathroom when I was 6 years old by a cis male. Are they now going to ban cis males from all bathrooms?
Yeah.
And the United Methodist Church in 2008 voted down a motion to exclude transgender people from joining their clergy. So that's good. Presbyterian Church doesn't have a specific statement of inclusion, but in 2010 they removed barriers banning transgender people from being ordained in the churches.
My thing about a lot of this is, one, how are they finding this out? Like, why is this coming up? How is this? I mean, first of all, it's like, one, it's none of your fucking business.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, can you imagine going into a job interview and they're just like, so are you a man? Are you a woman? What are you?
Yeah.
The first thing they ask you, like that's none of your fucking business.
Yeah.
What I am. So like, as someone who would be a trans person, like, would they, like, why is that okay for you to automatically be like, well, you're this, so you're not allowed to have this job? Like, what are you fucking talking about?
Well, there was a woman who came out as trans, as a trans woman in Toronto last year, and immediately fired from her church. And that happens a lot, even like in churches where they pretend to be inclusive, and all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, I'm trans, and like, you're out. And the Anglican Church, or the Church of England.
We should say, like, we're making this a church issue, but it's really not.
It's not. Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
and
that's
the other thing.
Yeah,
there are so many people who have these beliefs where it has nothing to do with religion.
Yeah, and it needs to change.
No, it needs to stop. It's just a deep-seated societal.
Yeah,
I think a big part of it is homophobia. There's so much of it of just like about, you know, they don't understand people.
Yeah.
And they don't want to.
Yeah, it's true.
Different. It's different from what they know, and therefore it's evil. And that's the, you know, it's just hate. Hate is hate, man.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Sorry, with like the bathroom bills and stuff like that. It just seemed like they were losing the battle against gay marriage, so they picked a new battle, you know, and they picked a new way to oppress people, and it's all of a sudden like, oh, let's go after trans people now because now they want rights and we're not going to stand for that. And
well, it's back to this whole victim mentality that white Christians have.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
White Christians, whites, Christians.
Yeah.
I'm using three separate categories because I'm not saying that's all of it is, but it's that victim mentality. It's like, oh, they're war on Christmas. Oh, you can't say Merry Christmas. It's like, we can't have gay people coming in here because they're going to do this. Or it's like, well, we can't have trans people because they're going to do this. It's like, we're victims in this somehow. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not a victim at all. You are free to believe these things. You are free to have these rights and things, these privileges in our society. and all you're trying to do is take other people's, well-being and away from them.
Yeah. Have you ever used a non gender, what's the word, like a non-gendered bathroom? I don't even know how to. Yeah, it's not weird at all. This.
You know how you solve that problem? Just have bathrooms that are single stalls.
Yeah. There's a one bar in or like theater space / bar in Toronto that it just says
Bad Dog, right?
Oh, Bad Dog and the Transac. They it just says like bathroom with urinals, bathroom without urinals.
Yeah,
you know? And it's like use whichever one you want.
You know where else has gender neutral bathrooms? Everybody's house.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you know who's most likely to sexually assault somebody is a family member.
That's true. And
I don't see a huge push for people having separate bathrooms in your houses.
Yeah.
So
no, it's true. Well, me and my cat have separate bathrooms.
Well,
if you count the litter box.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess
we're the same gender though.
I guess you could start using the litter box.
Yeah, that's true. Especially when he's in there. Pranked you.
No, Jagger. I'm the daddy now.
So yeah, the Church of England, they propose that they start doing like baptismal like services for people's new names, like as they transition and they choose a new name, and they would kind of be rebaptized with that new name because the name is an essential part of like a baptism in a lot of churches and stuff. So which would be like, for somebody who needs that affirmation from their community, it's like a nice gesture or whatever. But I think 2,000 clergy and members of the church signed a petition trying to get it banned. I don't think it was, but it was like, just outcry from members of the church that they were willing to, admit somebody's gender identity, and it just
right. Yeah. I feel like so much of this is like, again, it's, I know why it's there.
Yeah.
It's that self-policing that I was saying, right? It's that self-regulating oppression, to keep people in line, to keep them following and doing what you need to do. But it's also like, if you believe in a truly higher being, one who is evaluating and grading everything that you do, and that when you die, you'll be judged or whatever to be wherever or however that shit works.
Yeah.
Why do you give a shit if somebody wants to have a baptism because their name? Like, what does it matter?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
regardless of your gender identity, regardless of what genitalia you were born with, just like live your life, be good to people, find your passions. Like, you don't have to worry about, I'm not being submissive enough to my husband, or I'm not being authoritative enough with my wife, or I have to lie to myself about what my gender is, and
well, I mean, it still is a lot of that, and it is still a very hard thing for a lot of people too.
Yeah.
I mean, we've come a long way with a lot of it, and there's a lot more visibility for a lot of those communities.
But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
There's so much, man. There's so much.
Yeah, a story that embarrasses me to all hell. But a couple years ago, I was going on vacation, and I went to get a passport. And I get to the passport place and Service Canada or whatever, and I submit all the forms. But my birth certificate was really old, and because it was from when I was born. So 1981, and it's been in my wallet for years. So it was like falling apart, and they couldn't read all the numbers. So I had to go, and before I could get my passport, I had to go get a new birth certificate. So that was an annoying process.
Yep.
But pretty straightforward. You fill out a form, and then you get a new birth certificate. It just takes a little bit of time. But I got my passport, and I went on vacation. Then a couple weeks later, I'm walking in on a conversation with two friends who are trans, and they're talking about getting a birth certificate. Me, just being the dumb white cis male, was like, isn't it a pain in the ass? It took me like 3 weeks. And they both kind of look at me as like, we feel really bad for you because obviously they're trying to get their birth certificate changed to have the gender they identify as. Yeah. And I'm complaining that it took a couple of weeks so I could go to a beach. It was like, you just like put yourself in somebody else's shoes for a moment. I mean, I know it was just a mistake of like, I just misunderstood what they were talking about, but like still,
a very innocent thing to happen.
But I was like, oh shit. Sorry, folks.
That's one of those things too. It's just like, well, what like we don't have any protocols for like these kind of things yet, really.
Yeah.
It's all still very new too, right? Like
Yeah, it's all pretty new, and we just need to just work harder to be better and call it out when people are shitty, I guess is one thing too, is like,
and just treat people like people.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing. Like just try to be nice and stop worrying about all that other bullshit that doesn't affect you in any way, like at all.
Exactly.
Like if someone wants to go do stuff in their spare time, like, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have any bearing on you.
Yeah, exactly. I think do you have any other thoughts before on gender and Christianity or religion?
I mean, there's so many problems with it. It's not just Christianity. There's so many other ones where they're so problematic.
It's true.
I mean, I think we've, I don't even want to get into it because it's just a long, sad road, and it gets into so many points about, do people have agency over their own lives and over their own bodies and over their minds, and so much of it just keeps pointing back to, well, not really.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason that I believe the things that I do believe, because it's just like I don't need some text or some guy on a pulpit telling me
exactly
what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I have it easy. I'm a cisgendered white male, baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I rolled 7, baby, as far as that goes. Just like easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. That's me, you know what I'm saying? So I can't even imagine being outside of that, like, and just the constant struggles that some people have to go through with this kind of stuff. It's insane.
Yeah,
so
even somebody commented on one of my videos, like with a transphobic thing, and I was like, I'm not gonna let that go. Like, fuck you, buddy. Because it was like a thing, I like your stuff, and then immediately they said something transphobic, and I was like, I don't want you to like my stuff. Like, I don't care. Like, just fuck off. Because
it's just such a bizarre. Like, I mean, it's the same thing with like racism though. It's too. It's just like how do you get to a point where that feels okay for you, right? Like, I mean, I get secondhand embarrassment very easy from things, though. I'm very very conscious of that. Like, there's so many things where people will do shitty things. It's just like, how, like, sure, like, I can understand sometimes feeling anger or frustrated by something, but to just go out and physicalize this and like manifest this to other people, it's insane to me sometimes. So then the fact that you're manifesting such hateful and hurtful things is even more crazy to me.
Exactly.
But,
well, should we move on to a brand new segment?
We have a brand new segment.
Oh my God! Wow! Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Set up a segment today. Let's thank our patrons.
Yeah, these are our first big batch of patrons. That's really exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna, as promised, we're gonna do some gossipy Bible study prayer requests for some of you. But first of all, I just want to thank you so much, Joe, Christopher, Nicole, JC. Did I say that right, JC? And we really appreciate it, and we'll give you, the rough cuts. We'll give you our Q&As. We'll give you our all that stuff. Yeah, I put out the one video, and then we sent it to the patrons, and then we got like blocked on on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
such a long clip in it, so they got the extended edition of that one. So you can look forward to things like that getting.
That's one of the benefits. Yeah, exactly. We're not going to get shut down for the patrons. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, let's picture we're in a church Bible study. We're in somebody's living room. Okay. We've really gotten into the Word today, just studying about how Elijah went up to heaven in a.
Is it Elijah or Elijah?
Oh, there's both.
Oh,
Elisha was Elijah's like student.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was his like protege, kind of like a Qui-Gon and a Obi-Wan.
Now, is Elijah and Elijah kind of like a Megan versus a Megan, where it's spelt the same but it's just said differently?
Oh. No, it's one's an SH and one's a J.
Oh, like Elisha.
Yeah. Elisha and Elijah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so we're there. We just studied this amazing word about how he went up to heaven in a chariot.
Cool.
Yeah, and now we're getting together and we're saying, okay, who has some prayer requests? And of course, there's a couple silent prayer requests, which just means you've been masturbating too much. Right. And
should we keep quiet then? I don't know.
Yeah, that's where I wanna pray for your unspoken.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, just where you really reach out, Damien's unspoken, and that he's been frantically unspeaking about lately. I also have a prayer request for my friend Anthony. He's been reading Spider-Man books again. And I don't really want to... This doesn't leave the room because we're just bringing it up in prayer. But as we know, Spider-Man is an evil book because you can't actually shoot webs and swing between buildings. And God looks down on that. So if we could just take a moment to think about Anthony today and his Spider-Man addiction.
Wow. Thank you, Anthony. And I've actually got someone that I would like to say a prayer for. It's our good friend Hannah. And I know she's been going through some tough times. And because of that, she's been supporting a heathenistic podcast full of two terrible people who are bound straight for hell. And I just hope that with our help today that she can see the error of her ways and stop supporting such awful people. Awful
filth. Yeah, we'll raise her up in prayer for sure. And then I also have a prayer request for another friend of mine named Jimmy. Jimmy's been staying up late eating Pop Rocks and Coca-Cola a lot lately, and I worry of what it could do to his stomach, because we all know what happened to Mikey from the Life cereal commercials. So yeah, if you could just raise him up again, between us and the Lord. This is a very personal matter for Jimmy, but I really feel like we need to do this for him.
And I got one more here as well for my friend Matthew, actually. With the pandemic, everyone's been home, and because of that, people have been turning to other things besides the Lord to pass the time. And Matthew's been spending an inordinate amount of time with his Hot Wheels cars, and it's becoming a problem. He's neglecting his family and his friends.
Yeah,
he won't eat. All he does is he goes up and down the hallway, just making car noises and crashing his little Hot Wheel cars into things. And we just hope that he can overcome his tiny automobile affliction.
Yes, we'll raise that up. And again, this is all in confidentiality. Of course, if you need to bring it up in your other Bible studies and stuff, please spread it to them too, but in confidence, so that they can spread it to their Bible study in confidence too. And their other Bible studies. And I just have one more prayer request for Jonathan, my good friend Jonathan. He has an amazing family and amazing wife and amazing daughter, and I feel like he loves them too much, and I just want him to stop that addiction of just loving and caring for his family that much. And I feel like we can challenge him on that, just subtly invite him out to Bible study, or invite him out to wing night or whatever. Make sure you're drinking Coca-Cola, no beer, but just to distract him a little bit from how much he loves them.
People are spending too much time loving other people when their love should be going to the Lord.
To the Lord, exactly. Exactly.
He needs the love. He's desperate for it. He's lonely. So
what do we want to do? We want to do this popcorn style? Or do we want to all take turns? Do you remember what popcorn style means?
I don't know.
Just when you feel inspired by the Lord, you pop in and you say a quick little popcorn prayer, and then somebody else pops in and says theirs. But again, thanks everyone for supporting us, and thanks for all the wonderful comments and all that stuff we've been receiving and messages. A lot of people reaching out lately, and it's been really cool to see and really encouraging.
It has been. It really has been. Quite an influx of people like saying some very nice things, and I understand so many people are going through some very difficult times, and if anything that we do here can help in any way or make you feel better about some of the choices that you need to make now, that really means a lot to both of us. It's just been so encouraging, and we've been doing this podcast for a couple of years, and just to be able to kind of reach out and make a difference, it's really cool. And and then also for the people who are angry that we make this stuff, thank you too for making it this far. Oh, your anger fuels me.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for all that stuff. Leave a review on iTunes, maybe. That's something we haven't encouraged people to do in a while.
That's true. Yeah, we should. All those official platforms. We love hearing you from in person, but the more it's out in that public space, the more people we can maybe get this out to.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we love you, and thank you, and you have yourself the greatest day.
Yeah,
of all time,
and maybe of your year.
I'll be there for you.
Work, Sky Moon.